What's going on, everybody? You're watching Bolt Up with Ernesto Vega, and I'm your host. Now, thank you. Now, our sponsor today is www.chargerspartybus.com. And basically what he is a party bus driver, and you pay him, and we'll all take a party bus out of Riverside all the way down to the game, have a great time, and then you get your ride back. And it's real cheap. Everything you want to know, all the information is going to be on chargerspartybus.com. So make sure you check it out. Now, first thing I want to talk about today is going to be which players will have a breakout year in 2017. But before I get into that, I'd like to pay respect to someone who deserves a ton of respect. And that guy is Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson. Now, LaDainian Tomlinson is probably one of the most pivotal generational players that the Chargers have ever had, let alone the NFL. And yesterday, he was inducted, it was on Saturday he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I gotta tell you guys, I barely kept myself together. Like, that was such an emotional moment for him, for the fans, for his family, for everybody involved. And you can't say enough good things about this guy. He did so much for the city of San Diego, so much for the fans everywhere, and I'm so happy that he was alive and well to see himself and to be a part of the greats of all time. So congratulations to LaDainian Tomlinson, the Lightning legend, a man amongst boys. So, shout out to you, LT. Hopefully I get to meet you one day and we'll talk football and whatever else. But for now, thank you so much for everything you've done. Now, back to the task at hand. Which players will have a breakout year in 2017, in my opinion? Every year, players go into the offseason doing different things to bring their game to that next level. Trainers, workout regimens, nutrition, diet plans, all that stuff. They're trying to make sure that during this offseason that they're going to make that extra effort to eventually get them to that, final goal, and that's to win a Super Bowl. But the question is, which players are going to be breaking out into household names this year? Now, today I'm going to talk about two of them, on offense and on defense. But before we go into which players I think are going to be standouts this year, I want to tell you guys and explain what exactly it is that I do to make these assessments and to gather information. What are the things that I look for personally? First thing that I look for, well, not in no chronological or numerical order, overall technique. What part of their games are solid? Footwork, route running, ball carrier targeting, all those things have a lot to do with technique and honing your craft and practice. Those are the things that are going to show up and be important on game day. Another thing is consistency. Can the player be depended on game in and game out, down in and down out, to do their, what they have to do? Are they reliable on every down? Do they do their job on every down? For example, defensive ends, their job is to contain the outside and make sure that plays don't break out on the outside of the field. So, or an offensive lineman whose job it is to make sure they're guarding and blocking a particular player and not whiffing or going after the wrong guy. That has to do with consistency. Another very important thing is vision. Can the player read a play while it's developing, while it's in motion? Can they see the opposing side of the field and know what is going to happen before it happens? The ability to anticipate things correctly, that is vision. And so that's one of the things I look for. Intensity is another big one for me. I think that guys who tend to play with intensity tend, to have a greater effect on those around him as well as himself. Not only is it good for him and his teammates, but his intensity can also affect the players on the other side of the ball. Another thing that I look for is, do they make big plays? Are they making game-changing plays? Are they extending drives on offense? Are they limiting drives on defense? Are they making big stops on defense? With that said, which players do I believe will be breakout players in 2007? The first one I want to talk about is going to be an offensive player who I think, had a very decent year. He had a little bit of trouble here and there with certain aspects, but overall, I think that, he has a big upside, a lot of potential. So, with that said, Travis Benjamin is going to be my offensive choice for breakout player of the year. Now, some might say, oh, he's nothing special. Oh, he didn't do anything really big last year. But hold on. If you watch the entire season and you pay attention, Travis Benjamin is very talented. He shows great potential, and even though he left, fans with something to be desired, but even with all that, he has tremendous upside for me, in my opinion. I like his route running ability. He knows how to get in between coverages and make adjustments on the fly. As many of you know, his speed makes him a huge threat, especially in open space when it's one-on-one with cornerbacks. He's very deadly. There's been times where he's even outran some of Rivers' passes, that were slightly, or that were, he just was so fast that he had to actually come back to make catches in certain plays. Defenders oftentimes have an issue keeping up with him, which makes him a huge deep ball threat. You give the guy a chance, you send him all the way downfield, he has a very good chance of gaining a distance between him and the defender and making a huge catch. The thing that I like about him a lot, for his size, he gets hit and he keeps on coming. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Multiple times throughout the season, he took hard hits and still held on to the ball. As you can see here in this picture, and this player in particular was against the Jaguars secondary, where Benjamin burst off the line and somehow managed to come down with a 45-yard bomb while the cornerback attempted to rip his arm out from underneath him and still somehow retained possession. Got slammed to the ground, pretty much almost suplexed because he was trying to rip his arm off, and still came up with a catch. Now, for his size and for his physique, that's big. So now, because I like to be objective and to be, as I've sometimes been, or not be, as I've sometimes been referred to as a pom-pom fan, because I'm not. I like to get excited. I like to, look at the optimistic side of things. But I'm no, pie in the sky type guy. I'm realistic. I do my research. I make sure that I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. If I'm optimistic, it's because I have a reason for it. It's because there's evidence behind it. It's not just because, I'm a Raider fan and I'm just like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl every year. That's not me. I'm not that guy. Because trust me, I've had my share of ranting about the Chargers. I've gotten really pissed off at them at times. But, once again, you can't look aside the evidence. You have to look at what's there and analyze the film and analyze the game and understand that this guy right here has, great talent. Look, one-handed catches in the back of the end zone. This guy has the tools that it needs for him to be, a 1,000-yard receiver this year. Let's see. I would say other than his size, but which is an advantage also, his speed and his quickness are evidence of that fact. So his fixable issues for me, though, since I am an objective person, I'm going to have to say that even though his hands are his strength, his hands in the situation that he's been in San Diego have also been his weakness. But he has above average catching ability, so that's not what I mean when I say his hands. When I say his hands, I mean, he had a great year in receptions, 47, not great, but he was a role player for sure. 47 receptions, But my issue is not with the amount. My issue is with when you think and speak statistically, he averaged one fumble every 15 receptions. Every 15 receptions. 4 fumbles in a year is bad, but every 15 receptions, that's something that definitely needs to be fixed. But I don't know if that's really has to do with him having butterfingers or him not being able to hold on to the ball. I would say the issue is more with his head, with his mind. I feel like sometimes you can tell that he wasn't all the way in it. Like, not that he wasn't in it and he wasn't trying, but that he had never been exposed to these types of game situations where he was called on in the fourth quarter to produce. So it's very possible for the first time in his career, he had to deal with being under the pressure of being the deciding factor late in meaningful games. Now let's be real. In Cleveland, when was he ever, a playoff contender? When was he ever playing games where, playoffs are on the line, division titles on the line? For the most part, I would say they were getting blown out, for a huge majority of his career. And that's not to say that that's for sure the reason, but that's just my opinion and the way I look at it. So, once again, I attribute to the fumbling for lack of experience with high-stakes games. Now, unless you can explain to me how inside 4 minutes, up 34-28, all you got to do is run out the clock and you fumble the ball without even being touched at all. He's a great player. But other than, it being nerves and it being in his head, I don't understand why a guy could fumble, a professional athlete can fumble the ball without being touched. So if that's not nerves, I don't know what is. I could be wrong, but that's just how I look at it. But I don't think that it'll be an issue anymore. I think that he got out those follies. I think he got out, the nerves. I think now that he's had a year to be with the Chargers, a year of game time chemistry with his players, a year of QB wide receiver chemistry, I think that was also huge. He didn't have Phillip Rivers before. He didn't get to grow up with, playing with Phillip Rivers. So his first year is going to be a little bit shaky. That's a given. Most people understand that. Most people know that. So on top of that, his fellow wide receivers with Tyrell Williams and Keenan Allen, he's going to have way less pressure on his hands. He's going to be able to, freely and easily just do what he has to do his job, and go out there and make catches. And he's not going to have the pressure on him because he's had a year and because there's a tons of different reasons why I think that those won't be an issue for him anymore. So all in all, Travis Benjamin is a potential high-caliber wideout. Now here are some of the top wideouts in wide receiving yards, or in receiving yards in general altogether in 2016, and look at how they compare to Travis Benjamin. Now first, T.Y. Hilton, who had 2 40-plus yard receptions and 6 receiving touchdowns. Julio Jones had 5 and 6. Amari Cooper had 2 and 5. Jarvis Landry had 3 and 4. And Julian Edelman had 1 and 3. Now, Travis Benjamin finished the 2016 season with 6 40-plus yard receptions and 4 receiving touchdowns. So as you can see, the stats speak for themselves. In conclusion, I like his chances to break out because, number one, overall technique, like I said, he has excellent route running and footwork, which allows him to zigzag around the field. Number two, he has good vision. He sees the whole field. He sees the coverage, and he makes adjustments. And consistency. Number three, he's reliable if you put the ball in his hands, and he will make the catch. And number four, big playability. One-handed TD catches over against Denver after a slightly overthrown pass back of the end zone. So that's big playability. You saw the catch where he got ripped down. He has one of the highest 40-plus yard catch reception stats in the league. So that's, constitutes big playability. And then number 5, fixable mistakes. If he keeps his head in the game, Travis Benjamin is easily a potential 1,000-yard passing threat. Easily. If he can keep his hands on the ball, Phillip Rivers will trust him. Anthony Lynn will trust him. I also think that's another reason why he only had 47 receptions is because of his fumbling. They don't award fumbles with more catches, more targets. So I think that's going to be a different factor is now, with those out of the way, he'll be able to just play and have that 1,000-yard passing year. He has showcased his aptitude for game-changing big yard catches over and over again and big TDs. He has ridiculous speed that makes him a Deshaun Jackson type of a threat. Not as flashy, but just as fast and just as agile. With the year of experience with Chargers offense, he will be way more comfortable, hands down. So for me, Travis Benjamin on the offense is going to be my choice for breakout player of the year. Now, I want to talk about defense. Defense has always been, the winners of championships. Everybody always wants to talk about defense. Defense, definitely a big role. This guy that I'm going to talk about next, for me, has the potential to be a Ray Lewis type of a player who can lead his team, who is very, very high in intensity, who's a very good player and a very hard-hitting player. And that player is Denzel Perryman. First of all, I have no idea and I have no understanding of how this guy hasn't already got tons of recognition for his on-the-field play. He has ridiculous amount of power for a guy his size, for a guy his physique. He's not that tall. I wouldn't even say he's 6 foot if I'm correct. And he's so explosive. He's like a little wrecking ball. He takes out grown men like it's nothing. I mean, if you look at this next picture, he just totally destroys this player. He just puts him on his ass. And he does that to a lot of players. He does that where you come up one-on-one on him and you think you're going to bull rush him because he's a smaller guy. And no, he just takes you out. I mean, he's rocked guys as big as Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy. Have you seen Eddie Lacy? The guy is huge. I mean, and he just takes him out like they're just any other guy. He makes him fumble on this play. How many times do you see Eddie Lacy getting rocked like that? It's crazy. His dad taught him to perfect his tackling form by the age of 7. At 7 years old, he was being taught how to tackle. I mean, by the time he was 8, 9 years old, his dad had to stop letting him tackle him because at that point, it was too much for him. I mean, if that doesn't tell you about his power, that's crazy since he was 7 years old. So, with that said, he has an unreal amount of explosiveness. He reminds you of a smaller Ray Lewis. I really like his energy on the field. On the sideline, everything. He's a charitable guy. You'll see him out in Los Angeles and San Diego. I mean, this guy is just a stand-up player, on and off the field. And for me, that intensity tells me that he is ready for a leadership role. He is ready to take over this defense. He is ready to be that guy. This is a guy who keeps ball carriers up at night, straight up just punishes people every time that he gets their hands on him. And he shows potential for greatness. He's made some amazing plays, some game-changing plays, big plays in serious situations where, a lesser man or a weaker-minded man may have not have made the play. Now, I really like the fact that not only can you count on him first down, second down, and third down, but he has the ability to do things that most players can't. Just last year, when they were matched up against the Super Bowl contending Falcons, he not only made a huge late game interception, perfectly timing the route, giving the Chargers giving the Chargers back the ball and allowing them to go and tie up the game with a field goal. But also, in the same game, in overtime, Denzel Perryman blows up the play behind the line of scrimmage on 4th down and 1. 4th down and 1. That was such a huge play. If anything, I would say those two plays won us the game, won the Chargers the game against the contending Super Bowl players. And I have a feeling that he's going to be able to do that time and time again. 3rd down stops, 4th down stops, high intensity, important plays. He is the guy that can make that happen. And if not, he's going to give that guy, the other teammates on the field, the intensity and the positivity that they need to go in ahead and make those type of plays also. Now, once again, back to, why I put him there. Overall technique, check. Intensity, check. Game-changing ability, check. He has the factors to break out. He has the factors to make it into that next level and to be known as one of the top players. The guy has only been in the league for 2 years, and he's already done this much. He already has 72 tackles as a linebacker in 2 years. This is going to be his 3rd year. He's going to be going into his prime in these next couple years. And now that he has defensive coordinator Gus Bradley, I think that'll even boost up his ability even more. So his finishing stats, though, were 72 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 fumble in 2016, while only playing 12 games. Now, some may say, 12 games, that's still enough time. But look, 4 games makes a difference. If you add up statistically between the entire season and his average, if he stayed in for an entire 16-game season, you're looking at least 100 tackles by one player. He can do that this year if he stays healthy. And that'll be huge for our defense. Now, not only are his talent and skills above average, but once again, his leadership is above average. So I think that puts him up there to rally his fellow brethren through battle, through the trenches, every game, and to me, the guy is going to be huge this year. So, with that said, Travis Benjamin, a breakout player for the offense. Denzel Perryman, breakout player for the defense. Those are my breakout players. Please comment, share, let me know what you think, and let me know what players that you think are going to be breaking out. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I haven't done the research. Go ahead and drop some names. Let me know, what you think. Now I'm going to transition into a guy that I like a lot, a guy that I found on Instagram. To me, he has amazing graphic design talent. I'm going to go in with my Tank Edits. This guy right here, Tank Edits, that's his logo. Look him up on Instagram, TANKEDITZ. And this is going to be your Tank Edits photo of the day. And that right there is Cardale Jones, ladies and gentlemen. We traded for him from the Bills for next to nothing. We gave them an optional 7th-round pick for what could be and potentially be Phillip Rivers' protege. Phillip Rivers, passing of the torch to this guy. Now, a lot of you may say, why do you think that? A lot of you may say, oh, he didn't do nothing in Buffalo. But there's a reason that Anthony Lynn wanted him. And it's not just because Anthony Lynn, coached him. It's not just because Anthony Lynn is biased. I don't think he would do something like that, and I don't think Tom Telesco would make that type of decision, without having a reason. If you look, Tom Telesco was, and the scouting team at the Chargers facility was looking at this guy in the draft, was thinking about, having him in. They had their analysis looking him up. So for us, this is huge. For us, I mean, we pretty much got possibly our next quarterback after Phillip Rivers retires. And I don't know if you've seen this guy, but he throws bombs. I mean, I was watching him at the scrimmage I wasn't there, but I was watching people's film about him, and this guy is just doing, regular practice throws, just kind of along with the motions, easily throwing 50-yard throws like it's nothing. Like he's just, throwing a game of, some catch with his son out in the park. Like this guy is throwing bombs like it ain't nothing. So, once again, Ernesto's pie in the sky. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a pom-pom fan. But no, I look at this guy, and I look at what Anthony Lynn does, and I look at what, hopefully Ken Wisenhunt stays a while, and I'm looking at Phillip Rivers, and I'm saying this is all the perfect setup and the perfect mixture and scenario for this guy to take over. And he looks good. He looks solid. He looks like a healthy player, and he looks like he can, with a lot of time, getting watered and getting, the training and watching Phillip Rivers. I mean, to me, that's huge. I've never understood personally why the NFL and drafts and GMs have done such a big deal with trying to go after first-round rookie quarterbacks and trying to have them take over a franchise straight out the gate. To me, that is the ideal situation, is for you to get a quarterback, a young quarterback, while he's getting, used to the NFL, while he's progressing as a rookie, and having them learn behind somebody who is, in our case, a Hall of Famer, somebody who is averaging 4,000 yards, averaging 30 touchdowns a year. So to me, I don't understand why more GMs don't do that. But to me, this is the perfect situation for Phillip Rivers to pass the torch in 2-3 years, maybe 4 years. But even then, you're looking at a Jimmy Garoppolo type situation if this guy is who Anthony Lynn and the Chargers think he is. And at the end of the day, if nothing else, there's nothing better than competition. Kellen Clemens has been sitting behind Phillip Rivers, who Phillip Rivers is not getting injured. And even if he does get injured, he is not going to tell anybody. He's going to get a herniated disc and tear his ACL, and he's not going to tell nobody. So Kellen Clemens is pretty sure that he is just going to be sitting back up and sitting on the sidelines. So I think that this QB competition is at nothing else productive for all three of them. So I'm excited to see what Cardale Jones does. I'm excited to see how he looks in preseason, because he's for sure going to play in preseason. Who knows? He could show up like Dak Prescott. Some people had the nerve to say that maybe that they were going to put Phillip Rivers in front of, or put Cardale Jones in front of Phillip Rivers. I don't know who is crazy enough to think that. I mean, the guy's the face of the franchise. Tom Telesco pretty much showed that this year by picking up Forrest Lamp, Dan Feeney, Forrest Lamp, rest in peace, by the way. Dan Feeney, Mike Williams. Mike Williams may rest in peace, maybe. But to me, that tells me that Phillip Rivers is the guy, that he's the guy that they want and think that is going to bring them to a championship. So I don't think Cardale Jones is going to be doing anything big anytime soon. But like I said, I'm excited to see what he will do in the next coming years if Phillip Rivers stays healthy and continues to produce. Now, that's all I have for today. Once again, thank you for watching. This is Bolts Up with Ernesto Vega. Please, if you like this video, share it, comment, show it to your friends. I can't wait to get in contact with you guys. I can't wait to go out to Charger games. I can't wait to see all you guys and just root and, you know, take back Los Angeles. It's going to be a crazy year this year, guys. 2017 is going to be where the Chargers make their mark, I think. And I know for sure I'll be there for the first preseason game against Seattle. I'll be taking my son, his first ever game, and the first ever Los Angeles Chargers game in NFL history. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you again to Tank Edits. Thank you again to ChargersPartyBus.com. Everybody have an awesome day. Don't forget to bolt up.